Mr. Martin? Here. Mr. Negrini? Here. Mr. Wolf? Here. 8 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. We have our JROTC here to post colors. Gentlemen?
March. March. Detail, halt. Sir, permission to post colors. Please post colors. Thank you, sir. Post colors. Reset colors.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Order. Arm. Colors reverse. March. Right face. March. March. Forward. March.
Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Maravich, public participation.
Pursuant to the Sunshine Law and board policy, there's 2 opportunities for the public to address the board. One is on agenda items, which is immediately before the agenda. The second is on non-agenda items, which is at the end of the meeting. Pursuant to that policy, it is 3 minutes, and it is not question and answer, but it's an opportunity to provide the board with information on issues that will or may come before it.
Thank you. Is there any public participation? Okay. Communications? I know we have Mr. Cooper here, I believe, representing our band group and going to present us with some pretty good stuff that's been happening there. Mr. Cooper.
First, I'd like to note that on this very official occasion, My notes are written on a piece of my wife's stationery that has a pair of shoes at the top, and it says, "Stimulating the economy, pair by pair." You're supposed to laugh at that. I'd first like to introduce Jeffrey Dalton. It reminds me of my one son that one time told me that he wanted to play the drums, and I told him that you're too good a musician to play the drums. Well, that's all you're supposed to laugh. But Jeffrey's everything but that. He's an outstanding percussionist. He auditioned and made district band, then regional band, then all-state band by playing the timpani, the mallets, the snare drum, bass drum, and the cymbals, all of those different things. He's also outstanding marching percussionist, and he's fantastic on the drum set. In fact, most recently at one of our festivals at Boyertown, Jeffrey was named the outstanding soloist of the entire festival. So Jeffrey Dalton. And we also had Ryan Tuckman, who was unable to be here this evening, also made all-state concert band. And so then we have Shashank Sridhar, and Shashank demonstrates the most outstanding character and perseverance by every single jazz festival that we ever attend. Some well-meaning administrator or parent attempts to pronounce his name and butchers it beyond recognition. And they come to me and they go, "How do you say his name?" I go, "Shashank Sridhar." They go, "Shashank." I go, "No. Shashank Sridhar." And they go, "Sashank?" I go, "No, Shashank Sridhar." Anyway, and Shashank just sits there and smiles and grins, and he is a fantastic musician. He plays alto sax, tenor sax. He's a great pianist, and he also is an outstanding nationally recognized Indian classical vocalist. So Shashank made all-state jazz this year. He is the first tenor saxophone. There are 5 saxophones that make all-state jazz, 2 altos, 2 tenors, and a baritone. And he was the first tenor sax, which makes him one of the most, I'd say the top 2 or 3 outstanding jazz musicians in the state of Pennsylvania. So Shashank Sridhar.
It's always a proud moment when I talk to people about, why do you live in Wilson? And there's just so many reasons, and obviously, in addition to our other extracurriculars, our music department is just incredible. So thank you for providing those excellent opportunities for our students. All right. Just an announcement, we did have executive session immediately prior to tonight's meeting to discuss personnel issues. Moving on to item 2, approval of minutes from March 5th. I'm looking for a motion for that. Mr. Ehrlich? Mrs. Cocker? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item 3, Treasurer's Report. Mr. Martin?
Tonight, the Treasury Report, Investment Report, and the General Fund Reports.
Thank you. Looking for a second. Mr. Ehrlich, roll call, please.
Mr. Ehrlich? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Mr. Martin? Mr. Negrini? Mr. Wolf? 8-4-0 again.
Thank you. Payment of bills, Mr. Martin?
Payment bills in the amount of $2,448,317.42 out of the General Fund and $190,439 out of the Capital Reserve.
Thank you. Second? Ms. Ellis, thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ehrlich? Yes. Ms. Ellis? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini? Yes. Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Financial reports, Mr. Martin.
I submit, excuse me, submit for approval the financial reports as presented.
Thank you. Looking for a second? Mr. Ehrlich? Roll call, please.
Ms. Ellis? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker?
Yes.
Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Superintendent's report, Dr. Faley.
Thank you, President Wolf. I present this evening for approval the personnel program recommendations as presented.
Looking for a motion for that. Mr. Martin, and a second. Dr. Kennedy. Roll call, please.
Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Martin? Yes. Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis? Yes. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. 8.1, we have a motion, looking for a motion to accept the donation with gratitude from the Collinworld Terrace PTO, check in the amount of $26.23 to be used towards the purchase of science books for 4th grade. Mr. Case, thank you. Second. Ms. Ellis, roll call, please. Voice vote, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 9.1, under HR, motion to approve the $250 signing bonus for the following child care employees per the 2015 approved criteria, available to newly hired child care staff who work at least 180 hours over the first 3-month period as presented. 9.2, request approval to compensate Donna Sue Thompson $250 for arranging Sonoran Desert Holiday by Ron Nelson for concert band at $25 per hour for 10 hours. 9.3, motion, looking for a motion to authorize the appointment of Kelly Byrne as principal of Shiloh Hills as presented. Okay, perfect. And 9.4, I'm sorry, that is all there. So I'm looking for a motion for those three. Dr. Kennedy, second. Mrs. Cocker, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cocker? Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. And Mrs. Byrne is here tonight, so if you'd stand and be acknowledged, congratulations. Another blue ribbon next year, right? No pressure. On to pupil services. 10.1, looking for a motion to approve the contract with Conner Weiser Area School District as presented. 10.2, motion to approve the contract with Devereaux, PA Children's Behavioral Health Services Brandywine School as presented. 10.3, motion to approve the contract with Opportunity School as presented. 10.4, motion to approve the adoption and settlement agreement and release as presented. 10.5, motion to approve a resolution approving and adopting student discipline waiver and consent agreement as presented. 10.6, motion to approve the placement of a student as presented with River Rock. 10.7, motion to approve and waive tuition as presented regarding policy 202. Looking for a motion for all of those under 10.0. Mrs. Cocker, Ms. Ellis has a second. Any discussion on those issues? Roll call, please.
Mr. Martin? Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Case?
Yes.
Mr. Ehrlich?
Yes.
Ms. Ellis? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes.
Jumping down to 13, Finance. Looking for a motion to request approval of the Berks Career Technology Center General Fund operating budget for July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019 as attached. Looking for a motion to approve the budget transfers dated February 15th, 2018 through March 14th, 2018 as presented. And a motion to approve to open a high school softball student activity account as presented. Mr. Case, second. Mr. Martin, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Ellis? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Under Food Cafeteria, 16.1, request approval to purchase a replacement steamer in the high school cafeteria at a cost of $15,553.95 per the attached quote. I have a motion for that. Ms. Ellis, thank you. Second. Mrs. Cocker, thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Ehrlich? Yes. Ms. Ellis? Yes. Dr. Kennedy? Yes. Mrs. Cocker? Yes. Mr. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Negrini?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
8-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Under policies, those are both first readings. Any discussion on either of those? Okay, no vote on those tonight. Down to our committee reports. Mr. Case, BCI or BCTC.
We have not met since my last report. We have a meeting on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you. Berks County IU, Dr. Kennedy.
We met last Thursday. The BCIU board voted to reappoint Dr. Jill Hackman as the executive director of the BCIU, and that's a really good thing because she's pretty phenomenal. Good news, Wilson teacher Carrie Moreland has been nominated for the BCIU's Annie Sullivan Award. The nominees will be honored and the winners will be announced at the dinner at the BCIU on April 4th. And again, I want to announce that the BCIU will be hosting a Keeping Kids Safe cybersecurity event at the Inn of Reading on March 22nd with both an afternoon and an evening session.
Berks EIT, Mrs. Schlossman. Okay. We should maybe get these switched in order so Dr. Kennedy, you can go right into curriculum then too, if you want to do that. But if you want to take curriculum, please.
We were going to have a meeting tomorrow in Dr. Amy Flatter's office, but we're canceling that meeting due to a low agenda. Yes.
As long as you didn't say weather, we're okay with it. Extracurricular, just a couple things from our last meeting. One of the things that the finance department asked was to review our activity fee that we charge every 2 years. So that was this is that 2-year cycle. So Mr. Kaufman shared some data with his studies based off what other school districts are doing. Surprisingly, there's almost half the districts that aren't even charging an activity fee still. So his recommendation is that we don't make a change. There's a couple districts that are over where we're at. But there's several that aren't even charging anything at this point, so we're still in a pretty good position at this point. And just as a review, we charge $100, and that's for unlimited activities at that point, so it's not $100 per activity. Couple of good news announcements. As a follow-up to our girls' basketball season, we had senior Zakaya Winfield was chosen to play in the More Than a Game charity event, All-Star Game, on May 10th. That will be out in Harrisburg at the Farm Show Arena. The game features top senior girls from all around District 3. And then another update, we're kind of in between sports, but one of the sports that recently wrapped up winter sports still was our boys bowling team. We'd like to congratulate our team, boys bowling team, on finishing runner-up in the state tournament. They had a great season, finished first in the county and the Eastern Region runner-up, and then went on to the state tournament. They play, I'm not sure the exact format, but they play like a qualification, I guess, and were first place in the qualification, but then unfortunately lost the final match in the actual state championship to I believe it was a two-time state champion, Penn Manor. But they had an outstanding season, and I want to wish them congratulations. We did have one bowler, Matthew Farini, received an award for rolling the high game of the state qualifying with a 266 this past weekend. So would have taken me 3 games to roll that, I think. So congratulations to them and to our coach, Todd Kahn. That concludes extracurricular facilities. Mr. Negrini.
April 9th at 5:30, no report.
Okay. Finance, Mr. Ehrlich. No report. Okay. HR, Mr. Hart's not here. Do you have anything else for HR?
On March 14th and discussed a number of HR issues.
Okay. Legislative, Mr. Martin.
To discuss or just inform folks of, I did attend an active training session, how to avoid or survive an active shooter. And the information was quite interesting because it was presented by the FBI. But if you don't respond within 2 minutes, it's over. 50% of all active shooting incidents are over in 2 minutes because the person shoots themselves or commits suicide. The average, that's the average. Some go up to about 5 minutes, and there's one case where it lasted almost 18 minutes. So the first response is most important because by the time you get people in place, the damage has been done, unfortunately. So that's something that I know there's a lot of news about, training and so forth. And the thing that was made perfectly clear was anybody that wants to get into school to do harm will do so, regardless of what you put in place. That's an unfortunate part of society today. You can try to mitigate that through various rules and regulations, but anybody that has an issue will get through and do some damage, whether through gun violence and knife violence, or they believe in the future, bombs, homemade bombs, improvised bombs will become the next fad within this country. It's unfortunate, but other than building a prison around the school, I don't know what else. There's not much you can do. Now, Pennsylvania, for the folks that aren't on the school board at that point in time last year, but the Pennsylvania did approve each school has the ability, if they choose to do so, to train and have certified individuals trained in first response, which including weapons. But that was left up to each school district, and I'm not, to my knowledge, no school has taken it up yet. But that's in the provision of state law, which Pennsylvania actually was ahead of the curve, which is unusual for that. But that is in process, and a school board at any school district could evoke that right to have certain individuals trained. I'm not going to get into the math or the ability of whether to do that or not to do it, but they have to be firmly trained. Excuse me. So I just want to do that, and it's really interesting. I think maybe everybody should have access to that, and they should make it more available on the internet. But there's ways to avoid being a casualty, and the bottom line is you have to fight. If you can't get in a safe, secure position, most active shooters don't expect any retaliation. And one of the things that they stressed was anything that's available, from a fire extinguisher, squirting stuff in their face and then beating them with the fire extinguisher, to hiding and jumping. So there's lots of things that can be done. Don't run. That's like, if you run, you're a sitting duck. If you're within 100 yards, you're pretty much gone. So it was interesting. I learned a lot. But once again, to survive is who's on your right and who's on your left. That's what they said. You got to know who's on your right and who's on your left if you're going to survive. So I thought it was quite interesting. It's very noisy, but it was, for me, it was worthwhile.
Mr. Martin, just related to that, obviously you didn't go to one that was specific to schools, but was there any discussion on how to identify these people before these acts happen? I mean, to your point, if somebody really wants to get in a building, they're going to find a way to do that. To me, the solution maybe lies in identifying these people ahead of time. There's got to be some profiles. Just from the information that's shared in the news, you can start to profile some of these people. Was there any discussion on pre-identification?
There wasn't a lot of discussion on that, but very few instances that they can prove. Let me back up for a second. What I'm trying to say is, most instances, there's a reason for it.
Right.
Very seldom do you have somebody that just there's a history behind
right.
it. A lot of the time, it comes from, they said abuse, people being put down and things like that, but there's no real concrete proof that those were the causes. But there's a lot of expectations that somebody, especially in an abusive situation, has grown up in an abusive situation, has grown up where there's no self-esteem, which is a big item. It causes these things. And in schools, actually, 22% of all active shooting situations occur in schools.
Did they mention school bullying by chance?
They did not get into the bullying part.
Yes, because I would imagine that would be just as abusive as growing up in a household in which you're exposed to it if you're going to school and being exposed to it.
I think that's a major part of it, too. I mean, most of these folks, they said they want help because a lot of times there's suicide letters, the ones that actually take their own lives. There's letters left behind explaining their situations. But it's it's going to be tough. I mean, I don't know. I read a lot of stuff, and I'm not sure what's going to come out of it. But, banning assault rifles may cut down on the number of casualties, but it's not going to prevent the situations because there's a problem. These folks have an issue, and somehow there's got to be a better way of identifying those people. Moving on, more interesting news or more cheery news. A couple things. That's what I said. The state is proposing a resolution they passed, I should say, to have the Treasury look at, the Pennsylvania Treasury, the Office of Finance to look at this, of making all tax returns, local tax returns, handled by the state. One organization to handle all this because there would be immense savings. I'm totally opposed to that because I don't necessarily see the savings. It's going to take, I think, how the local area's responsibility. I mean, Berks County was a leader in having one Berks EIT bureau for most of our school districts. They did pass several years ago. I think it was, I forget the act. Do you remember, Christine, what act that was? The consolidate all counties had to consolidate their EIT collections under one roof. We've been doing that basically in Berks County for years. I'm kind of, you always hear all these big savings. We're going to save all these millions of dollars. And I don't see it happening. I see more bureaucratic red tape, and I'm not right now from what I've seen. It's just a recommendation that was 100% approved by both houses. So it's going to happen. Whether it gets ever to a vote, I don't know. But they unanimously approved to look into this to see where all these savings are. And I'm always reluctant to see, things consolidated and all these savings somehow just don't kind of materialize. So that's something of importance. The bill to reduce the size of legislators passed the House and the Senate, so that would be coming to the public's. It has to be voted on because of the constitutional change. So that might be coming out as early as November, but most likely next year, I believe, next fall. There's a bill, and I know there's Senate Bill 2. I know that I got an email on that today. Senate Bill 2 is highly complex, and it's partisan. The Republicans support it, the Democrats don't. I will be informing the board of a special session on that. That we were discussing, the public we invited to it. I'll try to get a senator here also to discuss that because I read the whole thing again. There's good points and there's bad points. And I'm not going to get into those tonight, but I'll reserve that for a public session where everybody can attend that wishes to attend to hear it because it's one of those situations that I think it would be beneficial if it's revised and made some changes. And it would never get passed in its present condition, I don't believe, my opinion, based on what I've read. But there are some provisions there that make sense for lower sustaining schools, about 15%. So I will put up, I'll get a date scheduled. It'll be open to the public, of course, and we can discuss it in a free forum. And I think that's all I have. Probably took too long to begin with, but let me just, this was something that I wasn't even paying attention to, but fair shares are impending court decision. The Supreme Court's looking at fair share. Depending on what happens, I don't know what's going to happen, but they're reviewing that, and a decision will be coming out, I would think, within the next several weeks. So that's going to be something that I haven't been following that, to be honest with you. I know what it is, don't get me wrong, but I haven't been following it, to be honest with you. That's all.
Thank you. Ms. Troutman, you want to do public relations and the Ed Foundation for us?
Thank you so much. Just a few items under public information. Well, last board meeting we talked about the What's So Cool About Manufacturing event, so we do have the results. Congratulations to Wilson West Middle School, who received the Outstanding Educational Value Award at that event. Our students worked with their corporate advisor, Novapac, to create their video project, so congrats to Wilson West. Hopefully when you came in, you noticed we have a new exhibit here in the Grandview Gallery. Again, it's incredible, so please take some time and check out this amazing artwork. This new show features artwork from our Wilson High School AP Art Studio. So these are from our high school students. Both the Grandview Gallery and the Wilson School District are extremely proud of our arts program and the phenomenal art created by our very own students. And we certainly have a history of cultivating young artist talent and preparing them for a career in the arts. And I think if you look around the room, you can tell that we've got some incredibly talented students here. We also have some wonderfully philanthropic students here at Wilson. Congratulations to Whitfield Elementary. Students, families, and friends, they raised over $20,000 for the American Heart Association during their Jump Rope for Heart. And that is not like a typo. It was $20,000. That's amazing. And the top student fundraisers got to give 3 of their Whitfield teachers a haircut during an assembly as their reward, which I thought was pretty awesome. So we featured a picture of that on social media if you didn't get a chance to see it. And then our Wilson Southern Middle students organized a donation drive for the Animal Rescue League of Berks County, and again had an incredible, amazing response. They collected pounds of dog food and cat food as well as other needed items. And again, I just can't tell you how much we are so proud of our civic-minded students and parents and teachers and staff here at the Wilson School District. They constantly are sending me things about all the amazing things they're doing for our community, and we couldn't be more proud of them. Today was a good day. Dr. Faley held the very first meeting of his newly created Superintendent Student Advisory Council today. The students for the council were selected by their building principal, and they represent each of the schools in our school district. Today, actually, we talked a lot about school safety, which I thought was a really great conversation. The students also talked about student voice, we talked about updates from their buildings. We're gonna meet with this same group again in May, and the goal is that this will be an ongoing initiative for our school district with a new advisory council being selected at the beginning of each school year. But it was just a great morning to spend with our students. Again, I'm constantly impressed with the amazing kids we have here at Wilson. And I'll also offer the Wilson Education Foundation update. So our Iron Chef event was another huge success. There were over 800 people in attendance, and we raised $26,819.69 in net income, which is a $1,500 increase over last year. So the event continues to grow each year. And what was really great is that included in that income, we raised $1,425 specifically for scholarships for the Bulldog Summer Blast summer reading program, which is fantastic. So thank you to all the board members who supported the event this year. We really appreciated seeing you all at the event. Thank you.
Sounds like we could get some Whitfielders over there with their jump ropes too next year, maybe. That's an amazing amount of money they raised.
The board appreciates staff and administration that participated in, Iron Chef. It takes a tremendous amount of effort from a lot of people to make that a success. And to see the folks there selling tickets, handing out, items such as bottles of water, it's really neat to see a district come together for that. And so thank you to those that have participated.
Thank you, I concur. Thank you. Technology, Mrs. Cocker.
4 o'clock upstairs.
Okay, thank you. Student outreach, Sophia.
Last week we had the walkout and it was very successful, and actually a lot of students decided to participate from the upper and lower house. And so in the gym we had a letter writing station, and then we also had a slideshow up on the 4 screens for those who lost their lives or who were injured. And then some students decided to walk around the track or sit down on the bleachers, and it was just really awesome to see like everyone come together. For whatever reason, they decided to go to the walkout, and we had a moment of silence, and I personally didn't think it was going to work out, but it was just so powerful that every single person in there respected everyone else who wanted to be there for whatever reason, and it was a really awesome moment, and I'm happy that we were able to do that. So thank you to the board and the principals and everyone. National Honor Society induction ceremony is going to be this Thursday, so juniors and seniors will either get sponsored or be a sponsor. And student government has been stuffing over 2,000 Easter eggs for the Wernersville YMCA Easter egg hunt. And it's actually way harder than you think. They don't just want to like go together. And that's all.
Just a follow-up question. Do you feel or do you hear fellow students talking about a change in culture after that event last week, where you're talking more about, you know, being responsible for your own actions and treating people well? Did that discussion come up at all amongst your peers?
Amongst, yeah, some people. I don't think it's like everyone, but there's definitely been.
Start small and hope it spreads. Great, thank you. Yes.
The large turnout that was there, it was very powerful to see students exercising their opinions on the topic. I think we as a district, in assisting our students to become positive citizens and contribute to our society in a positive way, need to allow our students to have a voice on topics that are very important, because ultimately they have the ability to change the world. And we can't just say those things. We need to allow them to do those things. And this was a big step, I think, in showing our students we mean what we say when we want to prepare them to be, you know, excellent stewards to our community. So it was neat to see.
Mr. Maravich. Okay. Is there any public participation on non-agenda items? Okay. Any other business from the board? Mr. Martin.
When I was in training, and it just came to me, but scissors. I mean, just there's so many things you can do to protect yourself. And one of the things that, obviously nobody carries wasp spray around with them, but wasp spray can shoot up to 25 feet. And if, you know, it's amazing. And they also recommend bear spray. I mean, I don't carry bear spray with me either, but that shoots 20 feet. So there's lots of things you can do. I mean, I didn't know about the wasp spray. I mean, it's like, you know, we never think of it, but of course it does damage to the person, but I don't think it really matters at that point in time. But it just popped in my head. That's it.
Interesting. Any other business? Looking for a motion to adjourn? Mr. Martin? Ms. Ellis? Thank you.